budget. I think from the first time I got my first job, I had a budget. And that is something that Kenyans have noticed we don't do enough of. And that's how we end up overspending. Because you pick a lifestyle before you actually ascertain how much that lifestyle aligns with your income.
Yeah. When should I'm in campus, I'm not earning. So at what point in my life should I start doing this budgeting process?
People argue with me in the comments so much about black tax. And again, like I said, it could, for me as Barbara, the budgeting coach, black taxes I want.
There are people who are employed, others are non-employed. So maybe I'm running a business or something. Should I be doing my budget daily, weekly, monthly, once a year?
One thing people need to do if you're in business is to separate your personal budget and your business budget. Because she was earning, I think, almost 1 million shillings. And she was living in like a 10K or 12K house. Aki, that girl used to. And she was a Gen Z. She was in her 20s.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to this episode of our Money Matters podcast, powered by MyZola. I will be your host again, Martha Nzomo. Just a little bit about myself. I'm an accredited financial advisor, and my work is to help individuals and companies with their monies. So basically, short-term investments, things to do like with money markets, long-term things to do with education covers, endowment covers. So yeah, basically that is it. For companies as well, we also do the money markets and all, and also we do pension transfers for companies and individuals. So in case you may be interested in that, please feel free to reach out to me. My details are in the description box below. So I am pleased to have a guest today. I will not mention her name, but she will be the one I will be talking about. And even before I go into that, for those who might not know what MyZola is, please feel free to check out the ad that is coming up right next.
We bring you MyZola, a money management mobile app with these powerful features. Budget. To plan where your money goes, set spending limits, and avoid impulse buying. Income. To track income sources and analyze your earning patterns. Expenses. To record daily expenses, track spending habits, and avoid overspending. Savings. To set savings goals, create a savings plan, and track progress towards achieving your goals. Investments. To plan and set money aside for investing. Assets. To monitor value of your assets over time and get a complete view of financial worth. Loans. To plan for loan repayment and monitor progress towards becoming debt-free. Download MyZola app on Google Play Store and App Store.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I will introduce our guest for today. A lady that I have known since campus days, that is close to 11 years ago, who I used to follow, or she used to follow me in the class register. Nzomo Martha, NZ, the person. So without much ado, Barbara, please take over. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks, Martha, and thank you for having me. So my name is Barbara Nzovu, and I believe Martha saw me recently from my social media. So I'll start with my social media. So I'm Babs, a budgeting coach. I do content around personal finance, anything to do with money, but mainly budgeting. And on my typical 9-to-5 cycle, I'm a chemical engineer. I do work for a chemical company. I used to be more on the technical side, but now I've taken a more back office role and more so to just get an all-rounded experience after I did my MBA with Martha as well. That's where I developed my passion for finance, and I went into personal finance, and I started doing a lot of my own improvements in my own situation, and then I decided to do more content around it. And funny thing, when I started posting, I think it's now 3 years ago, it was just very random. I was doing my own stuff, and then my account just blew up in like I think a week or two, and it was just like, what is going on? And I mostly started with TikTok, and then grew my following to around 20K before I started Instagram. And of course, for those who know, Instagram takes much longer to grow, but basically that's my long, short story of how I became Babs, the budgeting coach.
Okay, thank you so much. So before I forget, in case I leave this out, if you want to reach out to her as Babs, the budgeting coach, please find her information also in the description box below. Okay, so Barbara, the content for today is actually based around budgeting. So I would like you to engage our audience in detail from basics. But I would like you to tell us, what is your passion? Like, what drives you? Like your personal finance journey. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really good question. So, like I mentioned in my intro, I really developed it when we were doing the MBA course in USIU. I don't know if I mentioned.
Yeah.
And I just realized I really loved the accounting and finance classes. Then mainly it's, what I kind of resonated to is how to improve my own personal situation. And that's when I just started looking through my budget. I think from the first time I got my first job, I had a budget.
Okay.
And I was looking at them recently, and it was like the most basic Excel that you could have. It was just categories, money. There was no budgeted plan, the way there was comparison and all those things. There was none of that. She was just like, I'm earning 12K. Where's the 12K going?
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Then it, of course, developed over time. It got to, of course, with the skill sets that I learned over time and at the MBA courses. That's how I now transferred that knowledge and passion to developing other people as well.
Okay. So, next question. What is a budget? People talk about a budget. Is it a document? Is it on air? Like, is it tangible? What exactly is a budget in simple terms?
Yes, and that's actually very important for people to know, because I think we make it so complex in your mind that you kind of get analysis paralysis, But a budget is just a simple tracker. You're supposed to look at how your income is coming in, how you're spending that income, and then ultimately how much you're able to save and invest for your future.
Okay.
In simple terms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the art of doing what you have just said is what is referred to as the budgeting process, I believe.
Exactly.
Then. Okay.
Exactly. Not just putting that formally in a structure, right?
Why is it important? Like, fine, you've said my first job. Do I need to start? Why should I budget? Why is it important?
So, very good question. So you need to budget because you need to know where your money is going. So, for example, like I said, my first job, I think I was earning 25K. I needed to know that's 25K. What can it cater for in my life? I think at that time, 50% was going to rent, because I think I was spending it on a 12K apartment. And the rest is now you have to juggle and try to find a balance between food, transport, and every other category that is applicable to you. And that is something that Kenyans have noticed we don't do enough of. And that's how we end up overspending, because you pick a lifestyle before you actually ascertain how much that lifestyle aligns with your income.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And like in terms of budget, so when should I'm in campus, I'm not earning. So at what point in my life should I start doing this budgeting process? Is it when I get my first salary? Is it when I start earning 100,000? Because you see, when you say 12,000 and then my expenses are like maybe 8, do I really need to start budgeting then? When should I do it? Or if I'm getting pocket money from my parents, should I budget then?
Actually, that is very surprising, because I would say, Martha, that's a very millennial thing of you to say. Because young people are making money from campus. Like, funny thing, a lot of my young clients are very, very young, and they make a lot of money. Why? Because of this whole freelance environment that we're in now. People make a lot of money from even campus. Video editors, graphic designers, social media managers. You don't need to wait until you're done with school.
Like my first job.
Yeah, so my first job for this current generation, the Gen Zs, as we call them, or even Gen Alphas, they start making money very young.
So it means at any point I start earning
any
dime.
form of income, you can already start budgeting it.
Okay, I get it.
Yes.
So another thing, are there like different maybe techniques used? You hear a lot of maybe 50, 30, 20, some budgeting apps. Could you give us more information on that?
Yeah, they're actually, of course, the baseline, which they call the budgeting principles. I think the 50-30-20, like you mentioned, is very common and very popular.
Okay.
But I believe what I've noticed with time and working with different clients, it only works when you're at a certain caliber or median salary, let's call it. I think 50-30-20 is very difficult to put somebody at maybe a 30 or anything below 30,000 a month salary on a 50-30-20. I think you'd box them there and it would be very unfair. For example, 50% of your income is supposed to go to your expenses. 30%.
What I actually need, like
Exactly, your basic needs.
I cannot
Yeah.
do without.
Actually, yes.
Yes.
Thank you for correcting me. Yes, it's your needs, and then 30% could be your wants or it could be your savings, depending on how your life is structured. So some people 30% they can afford for you to go to savings, and some people 30% still is their wants, and 20 remains to be their savings. So you can flip those two.
Now let me take it a little bit deeper. When you're talking about needs, what is a need? I feel like impulse buying, is that a need?
No,
What are
no.
needs?
I usually tell my clients, if you're thinking of a need, think of it as what you cannot live without. So food,
Okay.
housing, and even in some situations, a car for some people could be a need. So sometimes these categories are also very personalized.
Okay. So it's not
Right?
that whatever works for
Yes,
Barbara.
will work for someone else. It's a very dynamic process.
Yeah.
And let's not look at money in a very static and in a very fixed way. It's very dynamic. You can decide to adjust it to your situation as Martha and me as Barbara.
So now because you've said that, it means Barbara's budget and my budget would be slightly different.
Even if we earned
even
the
if we're earning
same,
the same.
even if we lived in the same
Same.
apartment, but our lifestyles will definitely be different.
What are some components in a budget? You know, you've said income, like expenses, like maybe generally. So it's my first time to do a budget. What are those basically denominators that have to be in a budget?
So
Let's start it like from the top.
Exactly. So in somebody's category, for example, you'll have housing. So either
Okay.
rent or mortgage.
Okay.
You'd have food, of course, groceries and all that stuff. You'll have insurance. For some people, could be okay. If you're in the Western world, insurance is a need.
It's
You
a
cannot
need.
survive without it. And then I think where people find it a bit challenging is the wants, because some people's wants are question mark.
Okay, tell us about these ones in detail, because
And I always find it very interesting because usually when I used to, for me, my page is known for budget breakdowns, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes when I do budget breakdowns and I don't put entertainment or I don't put dining out,
Yes.
you'll see Kenyans, wapi pesa ya
KFC
kuji
or
enjoy, you know,
something.
like where's the money for going out? And I'm normally like, can you afford it? I mean, the
Yeah.
main thing is if somebody decides that I do not wish to go out in a specific month,
Yeah.
that's their prerogative.
Yes.
Maybe it's not a priority to them. But at the same time, people need to be very careful with that wants category, because that's where pilferage happens. That's where you spend excessively money that you could have easily saved and invested for your future.
Okay, because of also the work that I do. So maybe I can highlight some ones and correct me if I'm wrong, and if they are. So a want would be, instead of me cooking, I have my fridge stocked with things I'm supposed to cook, right? But today I just feel, I see an advert, I'm driving on the highway and I see Pizza Inn saying offer Tuesday and Thursday.
Yes.
Does that, and I have food I can go and cook. Can that be considered as a want?
I would even say you need to look at it. You could even look at the situation, do a further deeper dive.
Okay.
So you could be somebody who's probably, let's even add, you could have left work. At that time, you've had a very busy day. You're tired.
Yes, I'm tired.
Sour. Does it make sense for you to cook if you left maybe at 6 or maybe somebody who's left at 10? You see, it's very circumstantial. Maybe you've seen that ad at 10 p.m.
Yes.
Of course, surely I'm going home to cook at 10. So you allow me to spend my money. Why should I suffer?
Okay.
But then if you've left work at 5 or 6 and you're passing through Pizza Inn, guys, come on, you know?
Okay.
So that's what I always say. It's really, I think, to box people. I don't like to box people. I don't like to tell someone, don't spend your, no, please spend your money if you can. But like, let's be what they say, intelligent, or
Yeah.
let's use discernment. That's the word.
So
when you're
basically-
deciding on some of these things. So I would say you can't really categorize and say no.
Yeah, so it's basically like allocating. So if I've exhausted my money
Yes,
for the
that's
month
usually the challenge. Yes.
for eating out, then I
Then you
deal with
can't.
my situation,
Yes.
not to go and pick in my transport budget, which is a need,
For
to
exactly.
come and cater for this.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense.
And a controversial one, actually, sorry to interrupt, but
No
a
worries.
controversial one that may, as a personal finance coach, I say it's a want, is a black tax.
Okay.
Yes, let me be controversial a little bit.
Yeah.
Some people argue with me in the comments so much about black tax. And again, like I said, it could, for me as Barbara, the budgeting coach, black tax is a want. But to someone else, black tax could be the difference between their family sleeping outside or not. So to that person, it's a need.
Yeah.
So again, it's the circumstances. But for me, I highly feel like for many people, black tax is a want.
Okay, no problem. So other than the 50-30-20 rule, I know we have to appreciate the school of thought that some people, maybe I'm not tech savvy. Can I still do my budgeting on a notebook? How can I do it? What other mechanisms can I use for budgeting?
That's a really good question. And the fact that we're even in a MyZola platform, it is very good to mention. So people vary in the way they process and receive information. So for me, maybe as a personal finance coach, I sell Google Sheets or spreadsheets. I'm a spreadsheet. I discovered I'm a spreadsheet baddie. I'm a spreadsheet baddie. I love data analysis. It grounds me. If I'm having a bad day, I will actually go on a spreadsheet to just look at my numbers, and I'm just like, okay, the balance sheet is balancing and my heart is happy. Yes, that's me. I'm a dork. But then there's some people who are just like, I mean, come on, Barbara, you want me to sit with a spreadsheet every week to update my spending? Come on. And that's where like MyZola comes from. So MyZola reached out to me and they gave me access to their platform.
Yes.
And it's basically budgeting, but on a digital landscape, right? So the app literally has everything there. All even the categories Martha is mentioning, they are all there. Like everything that you need or want is already pre-loaded onto the app. I think even the app can pick already from your M-Pesa statement or even back statement if you'd like it to do that. But you can also fill it manually if you want and enter your spending on the go. And that's usually an advantage that you have. The pen and paper girlies and boys, even that, by the way, I respect it because, again, it grounds you. Because at the point of filling, I always say, at the point of filling in your expenses and filling in what you've done, it's also kind of like making you feel guilty. You're just like, oh my God, I went to BND and spent 5K. Why did I do that? So that you don't do it again. So I think that there are various ways that work for different people.
Okay. So there is no, in short, you're saying whatever works for me could work for me. And whatever works for you works for you. Now, because you've said again about MyZola, now, because we are, for example, there are people who are employed, others are on, maybe let me say, non-employed. So maybe I'm running a business or something. Tell us a little bit more. Should I be doing my budget daily, weekly, monthly, once a year? Like, tell us a bit more, like maybe how should it be done, for example?
Wow, that's a really good one. Because, oh my gosh, entrepreneurs are another one. Oh my God. And creatives, as we were talking with the social media manager for MyZola a few minutes ago, creatives also have this challenge as well. They have this thing for thinking because they're in this business environment that they don't need budget. Accountability.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, that's a really good point. And I feel like one thing people need to do if you're in business is to separate your personal budget and your business budget. That's number one. Never mix the two.
I like what you have just said. I love what you have just said. And I want you to expound the why in just what you've said.
Yes, because if you don't separate these two, that's how you'll end up again with pilferage, because you'll end up spending on the go business money that you're receiving from clients on personal stuff.
Okay.
So you need to be able to And of course, as an FA, I'm sure you even have a better technical way to put it. But for me, I'm using layman's
No, it's
language.
okay.
Just do not mix the two, because if you mix the two, then you lose track of the funds.
Yes.
Ideally, from what financial advisors always say, is you pay yourself a salary.
Yes.
So paying yourself means if your business, I don't know, makes, let's even use figures, 200K, you say you give yourself 50. Then if you give yourself 50,000, that 50,000, you pull it from your business budget, put it in your personal budget, and then now budget with that. So that's how it works. Separate completely the two.
Okay. So now, because you have talked about people in business, etc., what about for me? Maybe I am on a salary. So should I, at what point should I budget my money? So it is maybe 30th of the month, my employer has just paid me. Should I have, because you see, if I am on a salary, it means my salary is not differing every month. There's that constant I get, right? So the income is constant. So does it mean that I should already know where my money should go, or I wait for the money and spend after? What would you advise? Because you see the danger, I guess, it's a Friday evening, my money has come, I have not allocated for it. You could see what could happen.
Exactly,
so could you tell us at what point, so that my money has come in, what should I do?
I think anticipation or planning ahead is always the name of the game.
Okay.
And I tell this to people because people never even budget for bonuses. We are even about to go into bonus season. Right? You know your bonus is coming. Or you may not know the amount, but you know it's coming.
Yeah.
You should already have a plan for that money.
Okay.
That's where investment funds come in, those money market funds, those sinking funds, whichever it is, you have to plan with the money ahead. If you don't have a plan, that's when you always find that the money will find a purpose.
Always.
At the point it hits your bank,
Things
just be
are
like,
calling you.
say less. Martha will call me, Barbara, I'm like, I'm there.
Say less.
I'm sat. I'm there.
Okay.
But it shouldn't even be like that. If you already know, that's 50K. It needs 20K can actually go to my vacation fund. And I hope you're hearing what I'm doing. I'm not putting everything to serious things.
True.
Because you have to balance
Correct.
savings and investing for your future and also your now.
Because that's what I was coming to. So you've mentioned, so that means ideally like someone who is employed or on a salary is supposed to could do it monthly.
Exactly.
Right? So I can allocate, fine, this is my tithe, for example.
Yes.
This is my rent money, my, transport, etc. So I should already have a pre-filled like templates.
Totally.
And then, because there are things there, those constants that will not change.
Exactly.
Because my rent cannot be going up every month, right? So those ones are constant.
Yes.
Then thereafter, I can budget for different categories, which is what you've mentioned.
Exactly. They are called fixed and variable expenses. So fixed is the same amount every day. So those are your subscriptions, your rents, certain bills as well, they're fixed. Then variable are things that are dependent on your usage.
Yes.
Fuel. Yeah. What else is variable? Water, electricity. Yeah.
I like what you've said. So even the audience, like I always tell, even when I'm talking to clients, yes, there are those serious things which you classified as the needs. Okay. There are those ones. Fine. I call them entertainment or the miscellaneous budget.
Sure.
So you know that within that budget, there's some things that should go there. But what if I have exhausted it, then I cannot be picking money from different components.
Oh, that's a really good one.
Because I know it can happen. And then I think I'll come to dangers. When you see the importances of budgeting, there are things that people don't know. Like what happens if I exhaust all my money? Like, for example, I have spent already half my, maybe 3/4 of my salary, and it's maybe January, we are starting the year or something. What happens? What are the dangers with not budgeting, for example, now like that? Will it cause me to borrow? Could you speak more about that?
Even you, I would want you to say how you've seen the market, because Kenyans again. Okay, but maybe if it goes up, if the podcast goes about and beyond Kenya, fine. But for Kenyans, it's usually debt. The first thing, I think the mobile apps really are the worst. They're detrimental to Kenyans in general, because it's a quick way to get money easily. Credit cards is the bougie, it's for the middle class and the rich, but it's the same thing, it's the same principle, it's the same concept. Where if you have a deficit of something, you immediately think that it's fine to just put it on a credit card or put it on the app, right? That is the most detrimental thing. Getting into debt is so easy. So easy. And how you just, it's like you enter the portal and now you cannot come out.
So you need
You will
assist.
dig yourself in if it just becomes a figure you cannot manage. And then
Okay.
it becomes another story.
So in short, you're highly recommending the importance of sticking to a budget to
You
ensure.
must.
Because you see, the way you're saying that, yes, I can access money from the apps. It's easy.
Very.
They will send it to you. It's quickly. It's within 5 minutes or something, max, you get it. But what most people don't know, you actually end up sometimes paying 4 times what you have borrowed.
Kwanza, let me ask, what are the rates?
It varies. Actually, so there's a friend of mine, close friend of mine, told me the sister got into a trap. And actually, there was someone who had got in touch with me from social media. And you know, most people actually borrow because of lifestyle. So I want to live where I cannot afford. You see, when you were saying my income was at maybe 12,000, I could only pay this amount. Most people go for those, let me see, what are they called? Those apps. And you would even pay 4 times. Because you know what, number one, there's no security really that you're giving. It's not like maybe a financial institution like a bank, whereby there's property, they've done checks. So these ones, they are just lending it to you.
Unsecured, yeah.
And they can really embarrass you because assuming
yeah.
you're my sister, they can actually get information about you, my sister. And now, if I'm not able to pay, they can come after you.
Yeah.
So I also say it's important to maintain your reputation as an individual because you'd not want to be labeled, Barbara is calling because she wants to borrow. Yet, I always say just try and stick within the budget to avoid all these other things. Because what it does, other than spoiling your reputation now, in future, when you want to borrow from an institution, they run the CRB checks. So you get listed. And there are 2 bodies currently in Kenya that do the listing. So you might think, I'm not paying maybe Bank X their money.
Yeah.
Let me go to Bank Y. You will not get that approved for that facility.
And actually, on that note, maybe we need to ask her, do we have
Yeah.
something called a credit score in Kenya the
Yes.
same way
Yes.
the US and Europe
Yes.
have it?
Yes.
Please tell us about that.
Now, so because of my previous experience in banking, Barbara has come, or an institution has come to borrow from us. So we'll ask you for your audited financial statements, there are those tax compliance certificates, etc., your bank statements from other banks, okay? Loan statements, if you refuse to give us, we'll still know that you have a loan. So what usually happens, there are those unique identifiers, like for an individual, like your ID number is a unique identifier because your ID and mine is very different. So I will go to the Credit Reference Bureau. There are 2 of them in Kenya. So we just run your ID. And it lists all your facilities you have ever taken in Kenya. Okay? Bank A, B, C, D. So it's not listing that even the good loans that you paid on time, they will list them because that assists to increase your score. Now, the places you ran away and refused, okay, they, you like saying, hata sasa walipa hiyo pesa yao,
Natupa
right?
SIM card.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is listed. So please, and this is advice even to the audience, go to your bank, request for your credit score. It's very important. You might be thinking you want to go and apply for that mortgage. Just that thing you didn't clear up a loan, that is something that could hinder you from getting that facility. Allow me to stop it from there because today the topic is budgeting, but
No, but I really wanted you to touch on that because that is, again, you asked what is the detriment. That is the
Yeah.
detriment. You lose your credit score.
Yes.
Kenyans don't actually know
Yes.
that you actually have a score.
yes, actually, it's there. Anybody can get it. I know it might scare you. And the good thing, I always say, and like we talked about in episode 1, when I was the guest there, I mentioned about taking good loans, okay? It improves your credit score. Okay, so I've paid on time, etc. And even for those, maybe you might be struggling, there are things that can be done with your financial institution to repay. So I'll say, please avoid all these mobile loans. It's a Friday evening, you want to get money, because you end up getting to a trap whereby I'm borrowing from app A to pay B, then B to pay C, and the debt is crazy, honestly. Yeah. So I think, we've covered that. Another question is, you've already talked about now the difference that everyone should accept this situation.
Yes.
So your budget and mine could be different. Do you have any testimonies or success stories because of your work, like clients? Maybe Martha has come. This is how she was, I was in debt. How did you help them? Maybe you could just give us maybe 2 or 3, just
Yeah.
something.
I think the biggest one I've noticed is people come to me when they want to get rid of debt.
Rid
A
of
lot of
debt?
it, yes.
Okay.
So one of the things that I've really appreciated is when clients come to me and they're like, "Oh, your debt tracker helped me fast track my debt and be able to clear it months earlier." And now that Martha has even mentioned mortgages, even for mortgages, I'd like to plug it here that mortgages in Kenya are labeled as terrible, but they're only terrible if you don't fast track them. That's actually the secret to mortgages in
Tell
Kenya.
us a bit more about that.
The rates in Kenya are very high, comparable to, let's say, even the Europes or the US's. We know this, and it's because of our situation, our economic situation. And the reason, of course, now we have to be given such high rates. And if somebody gives you a loan of, let's say, 3 million, you get a house in Athi River, right? You will pay twice the value of the house if you continue paying for that house at that slow pace.
Longer time.
Yes, at the or rather,
Give
if
us
they
in
tell you
terms of, like,
25
years.
years, on average they give you 20, 25,
Yeah.
or even 15 or 10. Yeah. So if you're able to fast track, I know of my boss, my former MD, he got a loan for 20 years, but he paid it in 5. When you pay it in 5, you cut your interest by insane amounts. So the actual value that you end up paying
Goes
for the
down.
house makes sense. But now when you start doubling the value of a house that is not worth that much, that's when the mortgage becomes dangerous. But anyway, I digress. Back to success stories. So debt is one thing I really appreciate how I've been able to help people get rid of. And also my clients managing black tax. It's a passion of mine because sometimes I feel like as Kenyans we take advantage of each other. And
How?
not just
Tell us.
not just in the Kenyan context, but in families. You find someone, you're giving birth to children and then expecting your more
My
successful
older brother.
sibling to cater for school fees for them. I mean, how is that practical? It's not fair. So like when you're my sister always says, when you're busy making babies, don't plan with me.
Yeah.
Don't plan with me because I will not pay the school fees. Right? It's really not fair. So such situations. So I really appreciate when my clients who are in really deep black tax situations are able to, like, if it's school fees, you support this person, they finish, they clear, and you're done. And when I say done, you don't take up another mjuku when you're done. You've done your penance, you've done your time. Don't do that again. Right?
Okay.
So yeah, I really appreciate that. And of course, budgeting ultimately at the end of the day is being able to move somebody from lifestyle A to lifestyle B to life. And when I say ABC, I mean like you're growing your lifestyle, but in a reasonable and in a practical way.
It's good that you've said that.
Yeah.
Because when you're saying now lifestyle growth, how does that affect the budget? Like, so when my
Salary, for example,
Goes up?
Yes, when your
So
salary goes up,
how
you
do
reach
I-
25 to, let's say, 50.
yeah, give us now in terms of even the components. Like, so does it mean now it has okay, let me give you an example.
Yes.
So my salary as we speak maybe is 30,000. So it has gone to 50. Does it mean that 20 is now I move into a house 20,000 shillings more? Like, what does it mean?
That's
Because
a-
I know, most people think now it means now I can,
Spend more.
spend more. What does that mean for an individual?
So depending on your situation, most times I see people or my clients, depending on their situation, they tend to maintain their lifestyle. One of my favorite, oh my gosh, this lady was such a bomb babe because she was earning, I think, almost 1 million shillings. And she was living in like a 10K or 12K house. Aki, that girl used to. And she was a Gen Z, she was in her 20s.
Are you serious?
And the reason she did that is she was like earning a relatively normal salary in Kenya. She was earning like, I think, 80, 70K. Then she got a remote job. Oh my God. The girl got like I don't know if it was 600 or 1 million.
Really?
Then she told me, I don't want to change my lifestyle, Barbara. She continued living in a 15K house. Her expenses were tiny compared to her income.
Yeah.
And what did she want to do? Her first, I think she wanted to get a car. She wanted to get a car, and then she wanted to do investments. Let me tell you, if you see her investment spreadsheets now, after that bump, She has like over $10,000 in, I don't know, money market. She has offshore. So it's the way I think things make sense for you, and also the sacrifices that you make now for yourself. So because for her, she could have afforded it. She didn't value
know.
moving to a bigger
big
house.
house.
She didn't value moving to all those things because she was comfortable. So she prioritized investing. She prioritized the car. It was important to her.
Movement.
And that's how she was able to grow. And I love her like her portfolio is amazing. She has a lot of investments.
Okay. So your feedback and my take is just like what she does. Because I always say that, are you comfortable? Okay, where are you staying at the moment? Okay, you're paying your rent, etc. Is it safe? Is it secure? Like, if you're living alone, for example, and your income has jumped, the first thing should be, how can I increase my investments first?
Yes.
Of course, if I was struggling in a smaller house and I feel I'm in a bed sit and I want to move to a 1 bedroom, like a nice spacious one, now that makes sense. Not that from a bedsitter to a 3 bedroom, because I want, most people is how I want others to see me.
Perceive me, yeah, that's true.
I want Barbara, when she met me here in Kenya, by the time you come back to Kenya, you need to see me at this level.
True.
So I am basically increasing my expenses for the pleasure of others, which should not be the case.
That is true.
Okay. Anything
What
else?
it's called what? Keeping up. Sorry, to
Keeping
interrupt.
up with
the Joneses. Yes, that's what it's called.
Yeah, so I think that's basically it. Unless, is there any parting shot you have for us? It's just something, advice to Kenyans, the audience.
So from where we sit, it's not like we don't make mistakes. I think one thing I notice about coaches or people who advise people online is sometimes you can come out pretentious, like, oh, so you think you're perfect?
Yeah.
But for me, it's not like that. I made my mistake. I've made my fair share of my mistakes. And I was the one who also had lifestyle creep. Sorry, I did all those mistakes where I was earning like I said, I was earning 25, and I was living in a 12K house. How is that
half the
making
rent.
sense? But because I wanted to live where I was living, fine. I learnt my lesson. Then, as the salary is progressing and as you're navigating these different spaces, these experiences are actually lessons. So, Kibokoya experience is different. It hits different than like somebody or me or Martha telling you, don't do that. It's different, but sometimes it's not necessary. If you can be able to listen or get guidance from people who know or have experienced it before, the better for you. So I agree.
Now, because I already mentioned that your contacts will be in the description box.
Yes.
Please feel free to tell the audience where can they reach you, your handles, Instagram, okay, TikTok,
So for me, Instagram, budget NKE, TikTok, budget NKE, YouTube as well, budget NKE. And most of my sessions are usually virtual unless I'm around. For those who know, that I'm not based in Kenya. I am Kenyan, but I'm not based in Kenya. But I come to Kenya a lot.
Yes.
I work a lot with Kenyan brands. So if you find me, we could have a session face-to-face, but majority of my sessions are virtual.
Yeah.
And the details will be in the description box.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thank you for watching. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe, MyZola. See you in the next episode. Thank you.
Ciao.